Okay, like I said, these workshops are recorded. Okay, so that if you like the recording along with your materials, you are more than welcome to get a recording of all 4 of the workshops once we are completed. I will more than happy send you the recordings of the workshops as well, along with a copy of the PowerPoints as well. So like I said, you will have all of the tools, all of the materials to look back on to help you along your way. So in dealing with debt, like I said, all of us at some point has debt, whether it's a lot of debt, whether it's a little bit of debt, and debt can be a hard thing for us, for individuals to face. Move your along. There you go. For individuals to face, especially when they feel like they're a barrier for you, when they kind of get in the way of your financial goals, what you want to do with your life. But it's also important to remember that, that you also have resources that you can use in order to help you make a plan to get more control of that debt. And even small steps, because I know a lot of people, they're like, I need this to be done immediately. I need to take care of this immediately. But, even small steps that you take towards paying down debt can make a big difference in, in just helping you to feel like you do have some control. Okay. So this workshop is how you can manage your debt, how you can gain control of your debt, and thereby taking more control of your financial health. Okay. So as I said before, not all debt is bad debt. Okay. You have good debt versus bad debt. Okay. So how do we know, how do we define good debt? How do we define bad debt? Right? Sometimes, people will label good debt, sometimes people will label bad debt. How do we define that? How do we know what is good and what is bad? Well, the way a lot of us the way financial experts have put it, some debt can when you think about good debt, some debt can help you reach your goals or build assets for your future. So we kind of look at that as being good debt. For an example of that, buying a home, right? When you buy a home, yes, that is a debt, but it is a debt that helps you towards future asset. And you can leverage that towards wealth. So we kind of look at that as a good debt. Also, in education, yes, that may be a debt when you're paying down your loan, but that is also a debt towards future future income. Okay. When you look at going to school, paying that loan, going to school, but that is a debt towards your future income. You get a higher education, then that goes towards you being able to get get employment and get your future income. But as a lot of people have found, it's not that simple. You need to look at things like whether the benefit of that debt and that outcome will outweigh the cost of the actual debt. Because it's also about managing the debt, right? That makes it whether it's a good debt or a bad debt, right? Because as I looked at those two things, and we can use those two things again as an example, when you purchase a home, right? You're purchasing that home under the understanding that you're going to be able to pay off that home. And that once you pay off that home, then you have equity in that home, and that equity then becomes, your future wealth, right? However, if you are unable to pay off that home, then that home then becomes a liability debt, right? Okay. So it all depends on, how you manage that debt. Again, with your education, okay, when you get that loan for your education, you are getting that loan under the understanding that you go to school and you take that education, and you're like, I'm gonna get this great job as, and even people who take majors like doctor and lawyers, and they're under the impression, I'm going to finish that education, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to make this great salary, and I'm going to be able to pay off that student loan. Well, that's under the impression that you finish. Okay, that you make it to the finish line, as you make it, you make it all the way to where you're gonna go. And that's with any degree that you go to school for. And that means, because if you do finish, then you get that education, you get that degree, you get that job, and you have that income to pay off those loans. However, sometimes life happens, life is what happens when, you don't know, and hopefully many people have been able to do that and done that, but you don't know. We none of us have a crystal ball into the future.
Yes,
We
under
have hope,
the little
we have
cabinets
faith that we're going to be able to do that,
or the
but we don't
yeah.
have a guarantee. We hope. Okay. But that's what we look at when we're talking about good debt and bad debt. So those are some of the things, that's one of the way of looking at it. We also look at, before I go on to the types of debts, does anybody have any comments on those two things when we're talking about good
No.
and bad debt? Because there's lots of ways that we can look at that.
No, we're good.
Okay.
I have no questions.
Okay. All right. So while we're looking at good and bad debt, debt is separated into two types of debt, right? You have your secured debt and you have your unsecured debt. Okay. So as we see here, secured debt is debt that has an asset attached to it, right? So when you get secured debt, the bank is asking you to put something up for it.
Just like to unmute, but it's not working at
Right?
all.
Okay. So
So I don't
either
think your computer
you're
does sound. I
putting
think
up,
it's just
some type of property, like
I think it's just
a
your computer
home,
isn't
an
even.
auto, like when you go into a pawn shop, they're telling you have to leave
you
something
leave?
there for them to give you money, right? And then
There's still that
even
your
when you
sound
get a
is working in
secured credit
general.
card, you have to put up the deposited funds
Like,
for
What
the
is
credit
this?
card.
I'm just trying to like play like a
Oh, I see.
something to see if you can hear.
If you can,
Yeah, your sound just isn't working in general. It's not just Zoom.
if you can
Oh my
mute
God.
your, if you can mute
Let me
your
just send a message. Thank you.
Where is that?
if we can mute so that we can't hear your conversation. Thank you. So that's with secured debt. The point of secured debt is that the bank will loan you money, as long as they know that they have something to fall back on if you default the loan. So that's the point of secured debt. Now the other type of debt is unsecured debt. That's a signature debt. That's where the only thing the bank has for this debt is your signature. And that's the kind of debt where, like with credit cards, basically you just fill out an application, you sign, and you just promise that, yes, I will pay, I will agree to pay back whatever it is that I spend from your bank. The same with department store credit charges, the same with medical debt, the same with student loans. Unsecured debt is not attached to anything that you own. It's basically attached to you. It's just your signature. The thing with unsecured debt is that the only thing that the creditor has when you don't pay back is that they can come back and like this is where like creditors can come to you and whatever income that you make. So that's why they can come, and if you don't pay, they can take you to court to garnish your wages or things like that. If you don't, they can sue you for that. If you don't pay back, they will take you to court and garnish your wages and all that nice stuff. Because you signed and you agreed to pay them. But if you don't pay, that's the only recourse that they have, is to go and garnish your wages and all that nice stuff. Whereas a signature loan, a secured loan, the secured loan, you put up your house or you put up your car. So they have the authority to come and take your house, or they have the authority to come and take your car, or whatever else you secured for that loan. So that's the difference between a secured and unsecured. The secured loan, the secured debt actually has collateral. They actually have something attached to the debt. Whereas the unsecured debt, they don't have anything. All they have is you. And in having you, they have whatever income you make. And that's what they come after. That's why they're like, okay, what income? What kind of assets do you have? What kind of income do you have? Okay, either they will attach, they attach whatever money you got in your bank account. They'll attach whatever what's your salary, anything. They'll come and attach any money you got. That's how they get back their money. So any questions about secured and unsecured debt? Okay.
No.
So move.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So
But I love how you're explaining it. So, because I just now learned the actual meaning of like unsecured and secured. So, like, thank you for that.
I'm glad. So how do you know if you have too much debt? A lot of people don't find out until it's too late. They don't know. It's like they don't know until it's like the creditors are calling, or they're like at bankruptcy stage, or it's like game over. So how can you identify the signs of over indebtedness before you get to that? I'm like, you're calling me and you're like, I need to file for bankruptcy because I don't have, I'm like, I got like, I can't pay any of this. So here's some ways, kind of like the signs to just, and the first, if you see, the first sign is not knowing how much you owe. And a lot of that is because a lot of people don't really look at their debt as a whole. A lot of people don't get their credit cards, credit reports on a regular basis. They keep track of their scores, but I'm sorry, your scores don't tell you, your debt to income ratio. It tells you your score, but the score doesn't tell you your debt to income ratio. Your debt to income ratio comes when you get your credit report and you're looking at all of your debt and you're looking at how much your debt adds up to. And, yeah. So knowing how much you owe as a whole. And then if you're running out of money. So if at the end of each month, you just don't have enough to go around, if, as the old saying goes, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul and Mary and John and and there's even, a little like Joshua over there, it's like, where's mine? So yeah, so when you're running out of money, and then you're exceeding your debt limits and your credit limits. Again, if you don't know what your debt to income ratio is, and that that when you're getting your credit reports on a regular basis and you're looking at, what does it say your credit limits, what your credit limits are on that credit report? Does it say that on when you're looking at each creditor that you're at 50% or 75%, or does it say 30% of your credit limit? And then as a whole, what is your debt ratio? What's it telling you? And you have to really be looking at those things. Okay. Are you paying only the minimum amount due on your credit cards or on your loan payments? I mean, mainly we're looking at credit cards here, but are you only being able to pay your minimum amount due because you're stretched out on your other things? Okay. And are you looking at, when you get your credit, when you get your statements, are you looking at that little box that tells you how long it takes you to pay off your balance if you're only paying the minimum amount? You're looking at that little box, because that little box is important, because it does tell you, in that little box, that if you pay the minimum amount, it will take you this long to pay off your balance. Because that's really important. They actually were required to put that on there because people didn't really know how long it would take them to pay off their credit card if they only paid the minimum amount. But then I think it was the FDIC required them, the people regulating them said, you know what, you need to start telling people how long it will take them to pay off this credit card if they're only paying the minimum amount, because they don't know. And maybe by putting that there, it will encourage them to pay more than the minimum amount. If you tell them it's going to take them 8 years to pay off this credit card if they're only paying the minimum amount. And trust me, it is sobering when you look and you see, oh crap, if I pay the minimum amount, it's going to take me this long to pay this off. And maybe I shouldn't spend any more until I pay this down. So it can be very sobering when you see that. Are you using cash advances to pay other credit cards? And people do that. People, when they get stretched, they're like, oh, okay, I can't pay my credit card, but you know what? If I take some money, if I get a cash advance from this card, I can pay this card, and then you know what? And then I'll just pay it back. But okay, first of all, you're using another credit card to pay off a credit card, and you're taking a cash advance, which is more, which they charging you more for that. So you're just building upon building. Okay. And then are you paying late or skipping a credit card payment, which of course that is just causing you late fees, and you're just adding up on your interest. And then finally, are you requesting new credit cards because you maxed out your other credit cards? Okay. So those are, if you notice any of these as being something that you have done or are doing, then that may be a sign that yes, I may have some over indebtedness going on. Any questions?
What should we do if we know this to be the case?
Okay, if you know that any one of these, I mean, any one of these, it doesn't have to be all of them. It can be one, it can be two. If you know that one of these are happening, then that's the time that you want to reach out to a financial counselor to sit down with, to talk about developing a debt repayment plan. I try to have people, I try to talk to people at this stage, okay, before they end up with like 3 or 4 of these going on. Because if you end up with 3 or 4 of these going on, a lot of times people will go to a debt repayment agency, which then I've had a lot of people who haven't had a lot of usually they come to me after the fact, and then they're talking about how they end up paying these people all this money, and they're still in trouble. But if they come to me when maybe they notice 1 or 2 of these happening, then they can sit down with me and develop a debt repayment plan themselves before they're paying any of this money, where they can do the debt repayment plan, and we can sit down and look at, okay, where is the problem? What are you, where do you have exceeding your debt limits? What's your debt to income ratio? And looking at getting their credit reports, looking at where their credit limits are, looking at what their debts are, how they can create a debt repayment plan. And we go back to class 1, looking at creating a budget plan that can support your debt repayment plan. So we're talking about creating a whole process to help them to make changes and to pay their debt down, because it's doable without, because when you go to a third party, you're putting that control into the third party's hands, and they do all the work for you, but then you have no control, and you honestly, you have you don't know what they're doing with your creditors, because they no longer have any contact with your creditors, and so you have no idea. And what happens is that when they come to me, they're coming to me because they get letters from their creditors saying, oh, well, we haven't gotten payments. And they're like, yeah, but I told them to do this. See, but they haven't had any contact, so they don't know if these people are doing the right thing or not. And so, but by that time, they've already paid all this money to the debt repayment company. And so now they have a whole nother situation on their hands. So that's why it's like, I try to get people to come to me before all of that, where they have the control of it. Did that answer your question, Keisha?
Yes.
Okay. And we're gonna talk about the actual repayment part in a few in later down the line.
Okay.
Okay. So, oh, as we talk. So there are ways of dealing with debt. I used to have we used to talk, and one of the ways these are three, but one of the ways in some of my classes I would ask what's probably the worst way you could deal with your debt, and of course everyone would say ignore it, and that's how a lot of people do. A lot of people just ignore their debt until the debt collector calls you. That's how it in the past. That's how a lot of people handle the debt. It's like ignore it and it go away.
Well, I've been telling people I died, but they're not listening. They keep calling.
Like I said, and people died, left the country, no longer lives here. It's don't answer the phone, change your phone number.
I literally do the whole shebang. I'm like she died a week ago. We're dealing, how dare you call at a time like this? And they are relentless. They will wait a week and keep calling.
You know why? Because you can tell them that you died. All they have to do is check the register, because unless you are registered with the it's like the bureau thing, you didn't die, and they know how to check that.
That's what I mean about this internet. This internet does too much. AI is just everything is out of control nowadays. There's no privacy.
There is no privacy. And there's ways for people to check for this and check for that and all that. So, and that's why I said as long as your name is somewhere, somebody has it.
Well, I'm trying to go off the grid. How do I do that?
Oh, it's very hard to go off the grid when you're on the grid.
I think that's a different class.
No, seriously. It's very hard. It's easy to go off the grid if you've never been on the grid to begin with. It's harder to go off the grid when you are on the grid. When you've been on the grid and your name is already in someone's database. It's easier to go off the grid if you've never been on the grid to start off with.
And you owe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more difficult. Like for people who are credit invisible, they can disappear. You don't have a problem. The only way you go off the grid is if you change your, yeah, that's the only way. That's how people disappear, because they no longer they disappear and they change their whole identity. That's how they disappear. And then you go and you disappear, but you can no longer live as you and think you're going to go off the grid if you have been on the grid, because there is no going off once you are on.
Eileen, when is that series?
You have because you have a social.
That's a different, because I have worked with women who have been victims of domestic violence, and they have changed their names.
Yeah.
So that the abuser can't follow them, but somehow the debt continues to follow them. They're able to still link the debt to that person, even though they changed their name.
Like I said, and the only reason that they do that, because I've had people disappear. I've done that too. I work for domestic violence, and I've helped people disappear too. And one thing that I've learned is your debt won't follow you if you change your complete identity. And when I say complete identity, that means you have to also, and you have to have help in this. I mean, and there are people who will do it for you. And I hope I'm not being recorded somewhere.
No, but I'm taking notes. Let me go. Go ahead.
You literally have to erase yourself, meaning that means you have to get new social security numbers. You have to get, I mean, you have to become a new citizen. You have to go, the person you were before will get your debt, but you yourself have to become a whole new person. And if you're going to go off the grid, then you go off the grid. Then you no longer you work with cash. You no longer go do anything by computer, by anything. You do not have any identity that can be tracked. And that's the only way you can do that. Because I had someone who she literally had to disappear. She had to disappear because otherwise she'd be dead. And she had to disappear. And we had to have someone literally find a whole new identity for this person. And that was the only way that she would be able to stay alive. And you can do it. And so it's just very intricate to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, this is America. You can do anything. I mean, and it can happen. It can happen. No, honestly, it can happen. It's just you really do have to re-establish a whole new identity. Just like people take over other people's identity, you can get a new one.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, and it takes time to clear up things, and when we're talking about credit and debt and things like that, and if it's actually something that does not belong to you, or something that has been done erroneously, you can get it cleared up. It does take time, and I tell people it's not gonna happen immediately. But you can do it. It just takes time. But the 3 ways that most people handle debt are these 3 ways. And that's with debt consolidation, like I said, the debt settlement program, which are, you see those all over the place. There's numerous debt settlement companies that are out there. They're for-profit companies. They work for themselves. They negotiate with the creditor to settle your debt. And that's what I want you to remember, what I just said. They are for-profit. They work with the creditor to settle your debt. They are not working for you. Okay, just remember that. You pay them, but they are for profit. They're not there to help you. The creditor, is that they're going to try and settle your debt with the creditor, but honestly, you are not their main concern. Just remember that. They are not there to work for you. You pay them, but they are there. They make a deal with they are literally made deals with credit companies to get people who owe them money to come in and settle debt. So they
So are you saying Lexington Law is not a good idea?
Are they a debt settlement company?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen them. Let's put it this way, there are better settlement companies than others, because there are some that are just right out, just scam people. And then there are settlement companies that are, they are settlement companies that have made partnerships with, with creditors to settle their debt. people who owe them money, okay? So it's just that you are going to pay them to settle your debt. Money that, so you're just paying money after money. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're paying money after money, and there's no guarantee. And here's the thing, and this is what I found out time after time. There's no guarantee that the creditor will agree on the settlement, but they won't tell you that. And I have found this out numerous times when I have gone in and helped people who have like gotten letters from credit companies, debt companies that said, you know, we didn't agree to this. And they're like, but I've been paying the settlement company. And they're like, well, that's not our problem. And it's like, hello. So that's one of the complaints, that's one of the many complaints that the CFPB gets regarding debt settlement programs, companies, that you know, that they do not, that they're not forthcoming in their dealings with consumers when they are doing these negotiations. That they tell the consumer that, oh yes, you do this, I made this settlement, this is how much you pay, you know, you pay per month to pay down, but they don't tell them that the settlement company did not agree to this, but you just keep paying us, and this is what, and then when they go, you know, when they get this notice, and the creditor's like, yeah, no, this is not, you know, and you go to your creditor and says, well, I want to close out my account. I paid this much already towards, you know, then they're like, yeah, no, we didn't get this. They're like, but I paid it. You said this settlement. It's like, no, we didn't agree to that settlement. So this is where, you know, it gets really fuzzy. It gets bad. So that's one of the drawbacks to dealing with a debt settlement company. So it's you just want to make sure that whatever you're doing, and I tell me, it's like, did you get it in writing? And like, but they didn't give me, it's like, no, you never do anything and don't get it in writing. It's like, whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you do, you make sure you get it in writing. Everything, a contract, get it in writing. No matter what you do, it always has to be in writing. If they refuse to give it to you in writing, then you walk away. You walk away. And it's like, okay, thank you very much, bye. If anytime you do anything, if they refuse to give you any papers in writing, you walk away, because that is a total red flag that it is not legit. It is not, you know, they are not equitable people. You walk away, whatever you do, because you should always be able to get it in writing. If they are above board and equitable, they will agree to give you the papers in writing and signed. So that's just good business. And with debt consolidation, of course, that's just, you know, consolidating smaller, like if you have smaller credit cards that you want to consolidate, and you're able to get a lower interest rate, that's something that you could do with that. Of course, bankruptcy, there are two types of bankruptcy. Of course, you have Chapter 13, which is an income earners bankruptcy, and then you have the Chapter 7, which is a straight bankruptcy, which is liquidation. Okay, so those are three ways that you can settle your debt. Any questions? So does anybody have any questions on those three types of ways? I know with bankruptcy. Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't have a question.
I was going to say with bankruptcy, a lot of people you know, in the past, a lot of people have looked at bankruptcy kind of like it's taboo, but I've always, you know, let people know that bankruptcy, while we kind of try to steer people away from bankruptcy, we don't, you know, hold it as, you know, as never do this type thing. It's kind of like, yes, you know, it should be your last resort, but it is something that, you know, is held as it's a viable option for someone who doesn't have another option. And I do explain to people, if you are working, okay, if you have an income, one thing that they are gonna, it's gonna be an automatic that they're gonna be probably looking at a Chapter 13 for you. And a Chapter 13 is they're going to be looking at doing a repayment plan. So what I normally do is before I have someone, you know, sit down and do a bankruptcy, I sit down and we do a comparison with the bankruptcy and a debt repayment plan. Because if you're going to be going to look at a bankruptcy and they're going to be, you know, looking at your assets and looking at what you can pay back, then you might as well sit down and do the same thing with a debt repayment plan that you control yourself versus having a court do it for you. So we do that. We do a side-by-side comparison to see which one would work better.
How far back does a bankruptcy set you back if you do a bankruptcy?
I'm sorry?
How far does a bankruptcy, if you do the bankruptcy compared to the credit trying to help you fix it, how far does that one set you back?
Bankruptcy? A bankruptcy will
Yeah.
stay on your credit report for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 10 years.
What does that really mean? I don't get that. What does that really mean?
That means that for 10 years, you're gonna have when a creditor pulls your credit report, they're gonna see that you had the bankruptcy. So it won't come off your credit report. Plus, and so not only that, you are also with the Chapter 13, they charge you to pay back whatever your creditors are that are put in the bankruptcy. You're charged to paying a certain amount back to the creditors, to the debts that are on there, and that's also put into your credit report. So not only are the debts still on your credit report until they're charged off from the bankruptcy, but the bankruptcy is also on your credit report.
So does that mean you're not able to borrow? I don't get the
Well, no,
bankruptcy. What is it? Seven?
you can
There's another one.
What it means is that as when you go to try and borrow money, and your credit report is based on negative and positive information. Okay, so that bankruptcy is skewing negative information because one, it's a bankruptcy, so it's going to weigh a certain amount on your credit report because it's a negative, mark on your credit report. So that's going to skew. It's going to skew a certain amount towards the percentage. The credit scores are scored based on a certain percentage of positive information, negative information, how much credit you have, what's your credit debt to income ratio. So it's based on and when we do credit next week, you'll understand more of that. because I'll be able
Okay.
to show you a little more of how credit scores are based. But
Mhm.
yes, but it does weigh in on that.
So, so is it two type of bankruptcy?
Yes,
What is
there is
that?
there's two types, the chapter 13 and chapter 7. The chapter 7 is a total liquidation. And
Okay.
that's where it basically basically will get rid of, you're freed from all of that, but the liquidation is based on your ability to pay. And
So,
that's what people have to understand. It's based on your ability to pay. So usually a chapter 7 is only going to go to people who do not have the ability to pay.
and
So
who
like
makes that decision?
if you don't have any income, if you're not working, if you don't have any income, they look at when you go for a bankruptcy, they look at your ability to pay.
Okay.
And they determine whether you would be a chapter 13 or a chapter 7.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? That's why usually what I do when someone is thinking about bankruptcy, we sit down and we look at what they would be eligible for before they go in. Whether they would qualify for a 7 or 13. And that way they can make a, you know, an educated decision about, what they'd like to do. So let's see. So I think that this would be a good place to take a 5-minute break before we start talking about debt collectors. Okay. So I'm going to let you guys take a 5-minute break and then we will come back and talk about my favorite people.
Check you out.
Okay. So we'll take a 5-minute break and then we will come back. We'll come back at 6 and we will start talking about debt collectors.
Okay.
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 Yes, ma'am.
Switch up. Okay, we are back. Okay, so
I
like I said,
literally had, I was sitting here literally like just thinking, and I forgot that I was even in this thing till you started talking.
well, see, that's what breaks up forward, to get your mind out of where you were. So there we go. Now this,
Yeah.
Before we begin, Renee, can I ask a question to the group? Did everyone receive their envelope with the material?
I did.
Yes, I received mine.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
What about you, Paula?
Yes, I got mine the same night when I went home.
Wonderful. Okay, so everyone that's on the call tonight have their material. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
that's good,
You're
because
welcome.
I am
Thank
going to
you.
be going over the materials. That's what I'm going to be going over. The next few slides are reviewing some of the materials that are going to be helpful for you, particularly in this case with responding to debt collectors. One of the things that I have been trying to do is really pushing that empowerment when it comes to debt collectors. And as you see here with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, it really let people know that you have rights when it comes to dealing with debt collectors, and letting them know that debt collectors, they can't just, just be calling you and acting any kind of way in terms of, trying to collect debt, whether it is the original creditor or a third party collection person. They have to treat you properly, and not using abusive, unfair and deceptive practices. And we all know how, especially now, it's gotten horrible with, I mean, I've gotten calls, and this is not even in terms of debt, but just in terms of people calling, this actually has to do with my mom, because I'm the power of attorney of my mom, and so all of her calls go through me, and and there are I realized that that she was the victim of identity theft, and so she was getting all these calls. I was like, the woman is 85 years old and has dementia. She has not gotten any credit cards. So I know this does not belong to her, but and they're calling. I'm like, no, this does, no. And so you really do have to watch what they use. It's like they use all kinds of tactics and things, and sending things and stuff. So you just have to, no longer can they call you at all hours of the day and night. They can't repeatedly call you. They can't act like they're lawyers, because they like doing that. They can't do that. They can't contact you at work. They can't do that. They can't do that. But like I can do is seek a legal judgment against you, especially when it comes to on credit cards and things like that are not attached to any type of property or anything. They tend to do that more so than anything, because they know they don't have anything secured. So that they can do, but you have to watch this part and make sure that it's a true creditor doing it. Because you get a lot of scams where they're sending you things that say that it is, it's a lawyer's office or something like that, and it doesn't. It's not, so that it's legitimate that they're doing that. And so you just have to be very aware that they're doing that. So also in your packet, you have a sheet, you have a document that says you can be prepared to ask questions when a debt collector calls. And this is an excellent worksheet that you can use to prepare yourself for debt collectors. It's a wonderful sheet. It actually has, I know Keisha would say she just tells them that she died. But this is a wonderful sheet. This is a wonderful sheet to use other ways of.
No, but I'm glad you said that they can't call multiple times. Cause like my car payment people will call me like the day before my thing is my car payment is due. Like I hate them. And I have told them several, now they can only email me because I told them I don't even want you calling me anymore. Like if you call me, I'm calling the police because I'm sick of you calling. Like they will literally call me like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day.
See, they're not supposed to do that. And now what you can do is just let them know. It's like, and even quote it. Even quote, just say, do you understand that the FDCPA indicates that you are not supposed to be calling me numerous times a day? And just let them know that. Just let them know that see, and a lot of times they don't think people know these things and that they know, that they know to quote these acts. And you can tell them, and you can tell them, I will report you to the Consumer Protection Agency or even the CFPB, because that's who you report them to. And that's what I tell people. It's like, once they know that you know who to report them to, then they're like, oh, she knows stuff. Okay, we'll leave her alone. And it's just being knowledgeable of who their bosses are and who the federal people are and the federal agencies are that regulate them, that they can get in trouble with. Then they know, oh, okay, so she knows stuff. Okay, we won't do that no more. We want to call her. And that's why I said, that's why I try to provide the paperwork and the forms and things that not only let you know who you can report them to, but who to let them know that you can report them to. Because once they know that you know, and it's right here, once they know that you know, then they're like, okay, we got to back off of her. She okay. She knows stuff. We gotta go. We know not to call her 5 times a day, or we know not to call her at all. So yes. So this form has the form, when you check your folder, this form not only has it says what to say to a debt collector, okay? And it has all kinds of different things. It has all kinds of things to say. And you can add your own things to say, and that's fine. Those are things to say. But it also has if you need to supply them, what kind of things that you should what information you should give them, because they'll ask you for information, and this will tell you, okay, these are the only things that you should ever give them. If they ask you for it, it's like, no, I don't need to supply you with that. This just like when soldiers are told you're only supposed to give them your rank and serial number. That's it. You don't give them nothing else. They don't need anything else, because you know why? Because if it was really true, they should have that information already. And see, and that's how you know a scam. It's like when they call you and they ask you for something, it's like, wait a minute. If you're really who you say you are, shouldn't you have that? Why are you asking me for that? If you're who you say you are, you should have that. That tells me you're not who you say you are, because you're asking me for information you should already have. And the same thing.
So I shouldn't need to verify my account every time.
No. They should have your account. Why are they asking you for your account? And
Because that's annoying. It's really annoying. It gets on my nerve because I'm like, I'm with you. I'm like, you call me you should know all this information every time. It's irritating.
No, and it actually says on here, it's like, you need to tell me information. No, it says it's like, you give me some information so I can verify that who you are. And usually, you know what? A lot of times that gets them to hang up the phone. And that's how you know whether they're legitimate or not, because if it's like, why do you keep asking me for information that you should have? Why do I need to keep doing that? It's like, why should I verify when you called me? I like, hello. Like, why are you asking me to verify when you called me? Shouldn't I ask you to verify that you're who you are? That shouldn't be the other way around?
Right.
See? There you go. Now you're getting smart. It's like, no. And that's what this form helps you with. This form helps you to be on the other end, because when someone calls you to collect a debt or anything having to do with your personal information, you put them on the defense. It's like, you called me, verify yourself. It's like, no, you called me. It's like, because one thing I've learned to do is when someone calls me, I never verify that I'm who they called. Because that way they go on the fence. It's like, they'll call, it's like, Renee
I like
McElroy.
that one.
The first thing I do is I say, may I ask who's calling? And what are you calling about? It's like, I never verify that I'm me, because that gives them information. And I don't know if they're taping on the other end, if they're trying to get my voice, if they're trying to get that, yes, I am Renee McElroy. Like, no, I'm not giving you that information. You called me. So who are you? Why are you calling me? And then I'll let you know. If I think you're okay, I may say, yes, I'm Renee McElroy, or I'm gonna hang up on you. Depending on whether I agree with who you are.
I really like you.
I'm sorry. You have to be on the defense. And that's what I say. Whenever it comes to your personal information, you go on defense automatically, unless you know who's calling you from the jump. If you know who's calling you from the jump, then yes. If you don't know who they are, then you go on defense. Never give information up front. Never do that.
Well, like sometimes when those police people call for some money, they just call you, you're from Effa. Hello, Paula, and they just start I'm like, okay, and then I listen to the background, and if I hear more than one person talking in the background, I realize if they call in for money and it's fundraiser, I just hang up the phone.
There you go. I get people who do that all the time. They're like, hello, Renee. I'm like,
I don't know you.
Like, don't call and say hello, Renee. It's like, Renee don't know you. It's like, I know right away. I know.
I know. Don't you hate that when they call acting like your friends?
Like, I know right away they'll say hello, Renee, and then, but I know because one, the phone hesitated coming on to start. It didn't automatically come on, and then he's like, hello. I said hello, and they'll say hello, Renee, and I'll say, may I ask who's calling? I don't automatically say I'm Renee. I'll say, may I ask who's calling? And then they'll say, some, lately it's usually either some type of healthcare thing, or there's always somebody trying to buy my house. And like, no, like, did I tell you I want to sell my house? And so it automatically like, no, bye, hang up. I don't even, acknowledge that you got Renee. I just hang up. No, bye. It's like, no, we're not going there. I mean, my phone usually will let me know when it's, when it's a scam thing. It's a number that's not not a good number. So I automatically know right from the jump, yeah, no, you're not a good number to begin with. And usually I don't answer them, but sometimes I like to answer just to see, yeah, you and I can block it, and then and then I'll block that number, and I won't get it anymore. But when a debt collector calls, will give you a lot of strategies to deal with those type of people. Okay, and it also gives you the information on who to contact to report them. Okay, if they're doing any of this stuff, like with you, Keisha, you already said that you've had people who are going against any of this stuff, who's doing this stuff.
Yeah, the company is FinB USA.
Yep, you can report them.
Everybody, so you know.
Yeah, you can report. You can do a complaint against them if you want, or the next time they call, you can let them know who you can complain. And trust me, they'll know who you're talking about. Okay, if you tell them that you're gonna, you'll complain. If they continue to call you multiple times, let them know that it's against the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And if they call you again, that you're going to report them to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And that's fine.
So Kishana, that is, Kishana, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong.
That form is in your packet. So you can go in your packet and pull all that up, and it'll show you how to call them, and also how to go on the website where you can do the complaint right there.
Okay. Because I sure am. But what we're talking about is my car payment people. They call me, so their practice has been to call me, like my car payment is due on the 28th. They will start calling me on the 27th. And then they call me no less than like 5 times a day after that. So if I don't pay on the 28th, they'll call 5 times on the 29th, 5 times on the 3rd. Like, it's just too much. So, yeah.
Yeah, see, and it says that making numerous repeated telephone calls. Exactly. So that's against, yeah. So the thing is that also, they should offer you the option of telephone calls or like text or something like that, rather than them calling you all the time. So and opting out of them making phone calls to you.
Yeah, we're doing the email now, because it's got to the point where I would label that harassment.
I would label it harassment too. I would definitely label that harassment. And you can talk to, and I would honestly, I would talk to the CFPB about that being harassment. I would go on there and talk to them about it being harassment. Because that sounds like harassment to me.
It definitely is. It's disgusting behavior, and I feel like you're taking advantage of people with certain credit scores. Not that my credit score is so bad, but still.
Yeah, I would definitely take the form, go on the CFPB site down there, on where it says when debt collectors call, because they have a section that says when debt collectors call, and at the bottom is a section where you can put in a complaint. So I would do that. Because that's definitely a harassment situation.
Yeah.
So what I was talking about debt repayment. Okay, doing a debt repayment plan. So one of the reasons to do a debt repayment plan would be if your debt to income ratio was more than 36%, and so you would figure that out by looking at your income and expenses versus your debt, right? And there's actually, you actually have a form, you have another form in your packet that that helps you to figure out your yeah, you have a form that says debt to income calculator. So it helps you to figure out what your current debt to income. Oh, did I push that? That's my fault. That helps you to figure out your debt to income ratio. Okay. So it goes through and it helps you to do that. What you have to do first is to, of course, complete the debt log. So basically the debt log helps you to organize all of your debt. Okay. And then once you organize all of your debt, you then figure out what your gross monthly income is. And so when you're doing your debt, you do not include your regular expenses, so that your debt wouldn't include like your rent or your utilities. Okay, so that's one of the things you want to remember. You're not going to include things like that. So you would include you're including like things like your car payment and that kind of thing. Okay, and credit cards. So that's how your that's what would be included in your debt when you're putting things on your debt log. And then you would include your income and then you want to calculate your debt to income ratio. And that would help you to understand where you are in terms of your debt to income ratio. Like I said, if it's more than 36%, okay, that's where you want to think, you want to look at setting up a plan. You know that then remember what I said, indebtedness, then you know that your debt is really out of control. If you have more than 36%, and that's your debt to income ratio. That's one way to look at how you are, how you're doing. Okay. And looking at setting that up for yourself. But that is also in your packet to help you do that as well. As well as the debt log. The debt log is also in there also. Any questions?
No, but very good information. I appreciate it.
Okay. So once you've looked at that and you kind of come up with the idea that yes, you want to create some type of debt repayment plan. One of the repayment plans that has worked for many of my individuals and many people over the years is something called the PowerPay plan. And there is a website that helps you to do that. It's called PowerPay.org. It's a free website that you can go on and set up a repayment plan. And you can organize your debt repayments based on the minimum debt that you have or the highest interest rate. It's easy. It depends on how you want to have it set up. But it's a really good program that we use with individuals in terms of setting up a debt repayment plan. And if it's something that you think might work for you, then that's something that we could talk about. We set up a session, and it's something that we can talk about in terms of repayment of your debt. Ah, there we go. Okay, opening for questions.
Renee, I had a question regarding these different apps on your phone that you can sign up for memberships and subscriptions. How does that play into that? How do you track it? Does it show up on your credit report? Do you get calls from bill collectors if for some reason, they try to hit your account and you don't have funds to cover? How does that work?
You say memberships and subscriptions. Are we talking about like memberships for gyms and subscriptions for?
No, this is like on your phone. There's apps now where you can sign up for all sorts of things. Cassandra said the Dave app is one.
Who app?
I'm telling you, on your phone, you can sign up for all kind of apps for exercise, for
Dave lets you get money up ahead of your paycheck.
Okay, I wouldn't do that. Because okay, that's no different than getting a payday loan. You understand that and does Dave charge you interest on that?
Let's ask Dave. No, just kidding.
Okay,
There's a lot of
traditionally with
young
tradition,
people.
Kashana said she understands, but she's not sure.
yeah, traditionally when you got money for ahead of your payday, that's called a payday loan. Okay. And it's great if you're able to pay that money back once you got paid, because the idea is we're going to give you this money ahead of your payday, and then when you get paid, you put that money back in, right? However, they do charge you a fee to do that. They don't give you that money, for free. They charge you a fee to do that. So on top of your pay, you also have to pay this fee. So you're already in the hole. And what usually happens is that most people don't have the money to pay back the money that they got in advance. So they get another advance to pay back the money that they got in advance, and then they end up in the hole even more. And this is like I said, this is robbing Peter to pay Paul and John and Jerry and Mac, and it really turns into a horrible situation. So while it looks good, just like rental furniture looks good, but the fee that you pay to rent furniture, you could have gone out and bought you a couch, right? So while these things look good on the surface, they are money pits. And that's what happens. And those subscriptions, I guess subscriptions for gyms and all of that, yeah, they're good, but a lot of times people get these subscriptions, and I know, and I guess their memberships for gyms and subscriptions for what are they getting subscriptions for?
The online apps are you're there. I think they're doing it online, so you don't actually go to a gym.
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I ran into the problem, and this is where subscriptions get you. They bite you in the butt, okay? Because I got my mom Roku. I got her a Roku, and of course it's a subscription, right? And I totally forgot about it. I forgot about it. I got the Roku. I forgot about it, everything. And and thank goodness I'm sitting there, I'm doing my email, and they're sending me like, oh yeah, it's $25. We're updating your Roku. It's $25. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that. And thank goodness I just happened to check my email, because I would have ended up getting $50 for something I didn't want. And I had to go in there. I'm going in there and canceling this and canceling that. I'm like, because I had like 2 days to cancel this thing before they charged me like $50 for 2 subscriptions I didn't want. I'm like, oh crap. I'm like going, pushing buttons. I'm like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for that. And yeah. Because my mom only watches one station on her Roku. And they're like trying to give me 4 other subscriptions that I didn't even ask for, because it's like auto. I got it on auto thing because I got it on auto pay, and because I don't have time to be sending them stuff. So it's on, and it's lucky I just happened to just see this email, because I was checking my email, and I had to go in there and cancel like 4 things that they were gonna give me that I didn't want. So, subscriptions can be diddly. Yeah, these subscription apps can be diddly, because how many times do you check your stuff? So yeah, the subscription apps can be diddly sometimes if you're not on top of them. I mean, they do make it easy, but I found out, it was easy for me to do the Roku for my mom, because that was the only thing I had to hook up her TV. But man, they get you with those add-on subscriptions, and you got to really watch the add-on subscriptions. That's where they ding you. They tell you they're free, but then when the free thing runs out, then they get you. So you just got to keep an eye on them. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Any more questions, guys? Like I said, debt is one of those things where, a lot of times people need someone to just kind of help them to kind of look at the big picture while they're trying to make a plan, and that's what I'm here for. So if you want to have someone to sit down with you to, kind of look at the big picture and the plan thing, and kind of, like I said, kind of look at the overall pros and cons of what plan is best for you, then yes, then that's what I'm here for, and I can sit down and help and look and help you look at that.
Where is your office located?
My I
Or
do
how
my
do you meet?
in-person meetings at the Nonprofit Collaborative, which is right off Broken Land Parkway and Patuxent Woods Drive. I can also do meetings at the college. It depends on what's convenient for you, and I can I also do virtual meetings. So I fit my schedule around the person, depending on what works for them.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said we're already signed up with you.
Yeah. You just send me You actually you can send me an email to let me know that you're interested, and then I will because my my calendar, to get to my calendar, you just go on my website. You just go on the website, and that's where my calendar is. But you can send me an email and say, hey, Renee, you know, this is so and so. I would be interested in doing some work with you. This is what I like to talk about. Usually most of my meetings can be virtual. If you want to talk about you know, debt planning that has to do with, you know, usually debt planning, we're looking at your debt log and credit things. I usually like those to be in person. So that we can look at the calendar together, and we can set up something at one of the sites. Either let me know if the college is better for you, or if you can do the nonprofit collaborative. You let me know which location is better.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions before I let you go? Okay. Well, I am very thankful. Oh, wait a minute.
Hold
Yes.
on. I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh,
That
you're
was good
welcome.
information, especially with the creditors calling you. I mean, I don't have them calling me, but I get those through that. And it's almost like they give you a heart attack because they're so rude, even when you're talking to them. And I have, like I said, I had people ask, well, you needed the money then, but now you don't want to, you know, they say stuff to you. And with this information that you've given us, we know how to respond to them, because when you don't know the information, you don't know how to respond, you just avoid the phone call, or if you pick up the phone, like they say stupid stuff, you just don't respond. And like you said, who are you? What's your, you know, who are you calling from? What's your ID number? What's your whatever? Sometimes some of them are so rude, they don't even want to give it to you. So with the paperwork that we have, if you're in a situation like that, you can actually look off that paper and you get your feedback, and you can respond by reading off of that paper. So that was wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And that's why I said, with the tools that I'm giving you, it's all about empowering you to take control. And once you have the information, once you have the tools, then they intimidate you, because a lot of times you feel intimidated. Okay, because a lot of times they catch you off guard. And so now you know, and this way you can put the shoe back on their feet, because they don't expect you to be knowledgeable. They don't expect you to ask them questions. And trust me, it's funny listening to them on the other end, like and then they hang up. Because they don't expect you to say anything. They don't expect you to ask them questions. They don't expect you to have knowledge of anything. And so that really, it empowers you.
Hmm.
It really does. Because honestly, you have the right. They called you, and therefore you have the right to ask all of these questions. It's like, no, and I tell people, it's like, why do we always feel like we don't have the right to ask questions? Why is that? I don't understand.
Because
It's like,
you be like that.
yeah, no, in a lot of situations. I mean, it's like that. And I know I used to feel like that in the doctor's office, where you just sit and the doctor talks at you and you're like, okay. And now it's like, I got to the point where it's like, wait a minute, I'm paying you. I'm paying you for your service. Therefore, I can ask you all the questions I want. I can challenge you. I can question you, because you're working for me. So therefore, I deserve to be treated correctly, with dignity, and I deserve for you to answer my questions. And if you don't, you're fired. And
Right.
once I got that mindset, that frame of mind, that was it. That was it. I never thought of doctors above me anymore.
I like her, Eileen. I'm so glad that you got her hooked up with Career Links. I think she's awesome. I like you a lot.
She's been with
Yeah.
Career Links a long time. Renee
That's true. I have.
she's been with, how long, Renee? How many years now?
Oh God, it has to be like 7 years now.
Yeah.
Well, how come I'm just now knowing about her?
I don't know. We send out emails saying you want financial
I
coaching.
feel like
Yes,
Renee.
I've seen him over the years though, but this is like the first time that I connected with you, and you're actually pretty dope. I like you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we think
I have
so.
to say, I've been doing this for over 30 years now. I've been working with women from all walks. Like I said, I've worked with women in domestic violence. I've worked with women with HCC. I've worked with women in education. That's been my passion my whole life, because that's what I grew up with, women, and women who have been abused, and women who have just struggled. And so this is my life. So that's what I do. And God sent me to do service. And so that's what I do. And anything that I can do to help women to be stronger, empowered, in control, that's what I do.
Okay, Renee.
That's awesome.
Guys, I
And
just
Eileen
posted
knows,
in the
Eileen knows,
chat.
I
I do know.
yeah, I am real. Okay. Eileen knows I am real. She knows
Yes. She does keep it real. And that's, we live in the real world. We need language
Real
that we can
people.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
language we can understand,
That's why I like her.
Yeah, but I wanted you guys to know I left the $50 movie cards at the front desk. You just have to sign for them. So if
Okay.
you want to go to the movies this weekend, they're at the front desk waiting for you.
Okay. Is the thing open on Saturdays?
Thank
No.
you.
Thank you.
I don't think so. I think during the fall they're open on Saturdays. During the summer they're only open Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Whenever I get there, I'll pick it up.
Okay.
Well, you guys have some time to go through the materials in your folder.
Yeah, I started going through mine.
You see me again on
I go through mine
Tuesday.
already.
Yep, you do. You see me again on Tuesday. We are going to talk about credit.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Renee. That was very
Thank
informative.
you, Renee.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
I totally enjoyed it. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed rest of your week and weekend. Reach out to
Thank
me
you.
if you have any questions or need any additional help.
Thank you so much.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Yes,
You're welcome, everybody.
Have a great
Thank you,
evening.
Eileen.
Thank you,
Okay.
Thank
Aline.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good
Bye,
night.
guys.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.